When the American government was in a complete panic, a famous American journalist created a big problem during a live broadcast. The reason is that during his business trip to Canada, he revealed the true comparison between Canada and America right on live television. After the program aired, American internet users became furious. The video quickly went viral across all media and social platforms. Even the American government could not hide its panic and was forced to urgently intervene to settle the situation. What exactly did this journalist see in Canada? What did he say that astonished everyone so much? My name is Michael. I am an experienced journalist for an American global economic channel, born and raised in New York, and have been working in economic news for 12 years. Many people trust my economic analyses. In particular, I am known for my sharp, critical remarks regarding the economic situation of competitor countries. Compared to America, the economies of these countries are not worth mentioning. They are stuck in the past. My words on the live broadcast last week caused great enthusiasm among viewers. Our social networks were full of posts about how Canadians resent Americans. My colleagues also considered Canada a boring, obsolete place. Michael, what will be our next topic? The producer asked me. Suddenly a thought flashed through my mind. I had talked a lot about Canada, but I had never been there. All information came from other media or rumors. I wanted to do a special report on Canada, go there and conduct interviews myself. The producer opened his eyes wide. Is now the right time for a special report on Canada? I want to see with my own eyes how far Canada's economy is lagging behind the American one. But deep down, I had another thought. What is Canada actually like? This curiosity began to grow in me. The next day in the editing room, Sam, my junior colleague, approached me. Michael, is a trip to Canada okay? I heard lately Canadians don't really like Americans. Don't worry, I am a journalist. Seeing with my own eyes and evaluating for myself is my job. And so, a 10-day business trip scheduled to Canada was approved. The destination was Toronto. I planned to penetrate the heart of the country, which was once called a stable economic power. The day before departure, I published a post on American social networks stating that I was going to see the true face of Canada and asked people to follow the news. Many fans left encouraging comments. At the same time, there were opinions like, "Help us expose the backwardness of Canada." While I was booking tickets, a hotel, and planning interviews, deep down I still had a question. Was what I had been saying until now the truth? But I quickly brushed off this thought. The American economy has far outpaced the Canadian one. This is a fact that everyone knows. Packing my suitcase, I thought that this trip would become an important milestone in my career. I would become the first American journalist to expose the truth about this country. I prepared everything and headed to JFK International Airport in New York. At that moment, I did not yet know how shocking this trip would turn out to be, and never imagined that this trip to Canada would become a turning point in my life. From the very moment the plane landed at Pearson International Airport, everything turned out to be far from what I expected. As soon as I got off the plane and entered the passenger terminal, I was amazed by the cleanliness and the efficient system. The automated passport control system worked faster and more accurately than anything I had ever seen in America. Is this Canada? It looks more modern than America. I walked out of the airport and hailed a taxi. The driver greeted me in polite English. "Hello, are you from America?" I answered with surprise. "Yes, I am from New York, you can tell." We have many American guests lately, so I can usually guess. "Where would you like to go?" I named a hotel in downtown Toronto. While the taxi drove along the highway, I carefully observed the landscape outside the window. Clean roads, orderly traffic, and most importantly, an impressively clear sky. "The air here is better than I thought," I said. The taxi driver smiled and replied, "Much better than many years ago. And how is it in America?" I froze for a moment, thinking about the smog in New York. It was shameful to compare. When we entered downtown Toronto, skyscrapers appeared before me. Modern buildings with exquisite designs, stylishly decorated shops, and long rows of billboards for world-famous brands. The image of Canada with a declining economy, as painted by American media, did not exist. "This is the city center," said the driver. "A truly developed city," I praised. The driver only smiled. After checking into the hotel and resting a little, I decided to take a walk. The streets were clean, people were dressed fashionably, exactly like in the Canadian movies I had seen. I went into a nearby cafe, and when I called the server to order, he greeted me with incredible politeness. "How can I help you?" "I am from America. I am new to this city." He smiled and replied, "No problem at all. We are very happy to have you here." Receiving such warm service, I was very surprised. In our country, it is difficult to find such service for visitors. While I drank coffee and opened my laptop to check the schedule for tomorrow, I had an appointment at the headquarters of Shopify. I planned to compare them with a competitor in America, like Amazon. My gaze fell on a group of young people at the next table who were enthusiastically studying. They were using laptops, tablets, and smartphones, working very efficiently. Such a picture could be seen in New York too, but here, it seemed everyone was like that. "Canada is more developed than I thought," I involuntarily muttered. Leaving the cafe, on the way to the hotel, I texted Sam. "Only the first day, and already so many surprises. Canada is not like we thought." Sam quickly replied, "Did they brainwash you?" "Ha ha ha." I chuckled and replied, "No, just telling the truth. Tomorrow, I will tell you what else happens." Returning to the hotel room, I looked at the night landscape of Toronto from the window and thought, this is only the beginning. One cannot be deceived by appearances. To see the real Canada, one needs to look deeper. But deep down, some of my prejudices had already begun to crack. I woke up early and went to a cafe near the hotel to prepare for the interview before the visit to Shopify. The cafe was clean with a modern interior. I sat down, opened my laptop and said, "One Americano." Since I was in Canada, I wanted to see if the coffee culture was different. The server with a beaming smile nodded and brought coffee to my table saying, "Here is your coffee, sir." Although his politeness was extremely high, his effort impressed me. "Thank you," I answered. He smiled joyfully. When I was searching for information about Shopify on my laptop, suddenly a Canadian at the next table spoke to me. "Are you from America?" he asked. "Yes, from New York. How did you know?" "I heard your accent. I worked in Chicago for 3 years." From the conversation with him, I learned a lot about the business environment in Canada and America. He did not say anything negative about America. On the contrary, he praised its fast development, which was completely different from the rumors that Canadians resent Americans. Finishing the conversation when I was about to pay, I discovered that my wallet had disappeared. I searched all my trouser pockets and bag but did not find it. I broke out in a sweat. All important documents, cash and ID were there. I hastily called Sam. "Lost my wallet. I guess I have to go back to all the places I was yesterday to search." "Michael, you won't find it now. I heard there are pickpockets in big cities there too." Sam's words upset me even more. When I was already about to give up and return, the server from the cafe called out to me. "Sir, you forgot your wallet." I turned around. It was the same server who was running towards me with my wallet. Incredible. I opened the wallet. The documents and cash were in place. "Thank you so much. Where did you find it?" "It was lying on the counter near the washroom. Luckily, I remembered your face and found you." His smile made me feel sincere kindness. I wanted to give him a tip as a token of gratitude, but he shook his head. "It's quite all right. That is just what we do." At that moment, I could not help but wonder if such a thing could happen in America. Honestly, if I lost the wallet in New York, what would be the chances of finding it? Frankly speaking, very low. In the taxi heading to the headquarters of Shopify, I called Sam again. "Found the wallet." The server returned it. "Really? You are very lucky." "This is not luck, but the honesty of the people here. Now my ideas about Canada have changed significantly." Sam fell silent for a moment and then said, "Don't rush to conclusions. A journalist must be objective." "Of course, but objectivity is seeing the truth as it is. Think, were our ideas about Canada up until now objective?" The taxi pulled up to the headquarters of Shopify. I stood before the majestic building thinking to myself, what will I discover here? I entered the lobby at the appointed time for the meeting with the public relations team. The receptionist greeted me in a friendly manner. She pronounced my name clearly. Although it was a small thing, such preparation impressed me. "Welcome, Michael. Before the tour begins, we have some security procedures. We ask for your cooperation." I received a brochure and passed the security check, after which I headed to the important zones of the company. The technologies and systems that I saw here were much more advanced than I had imagined. In my soul, I began to admit that America would need a lot of time to catch up with them in certain niche areas. This became the starting point from which my prejudices began to crumble. After the tour of the tech giant, I went to a cafe on the shore of Lake Ontario, opened my laptop to summarize today's interview. Seeing the modern technologies and research center amazed me. This was completely different from the image of Canada losing its competitiveness, as painted by American media. How should I write this article? I sat, sipping a drink by the window, and looked at the lake. The sunset reflecting on the water was beautiful. I wanted to take a photo, reached into my pocket, but the camera was not there. Damn, where is the camera? I searched myself, the bag, and everything around, but did not find it. Suddenly I remembered the taxi I rode in the morning. It probably fell out there. Losing a camera in a foreign country is the end. If you lose a camera in America, in most cases you won't find it, especially if it is lost in a taxi. Nevertheless, I still went to the police station with a little hope. When I entered, a young officer greeted me. How can I help you? I lost a camera in a taxi. I am an American, I don't know what to do. The officer smiled benevolently. Don't worry. Let me try to contact the taxi companies. Can you tell me where you came from? Where to and at what time? Based on the information provided by me, the officer called several dispatchers. Less than 10 minutes later, he smiled and nodded. Good news. Found it. The driver kept your camera. He is driving here now. Here. Really? Right here? Yes, in about 30 minutes. Incredible. Such a thing was impossible in America. The officer made me tea and asked me to wait. Exactly 25 minutes later, the taxi driver arrived at the station. He gave me the camera and said that it had fallen between the seats. Fortunately, he found it earlier. I wanted to give him money in gratitude, but the driver refused. It's okay. I just did what I should. The officer also smiled and said, in Canada, it is normal to return what is found to the police or the owner. How is this possible? I involuntarily muttered. Leaving the police station, I called Sam. Found a lost item again. This time the camera. You really are a lucky guy. This is not luck, but the system and honesty of people here. I am encountering incredible things. The next day, I visited several startups. The representative of one company told about the experience of conquering the global market in just a year. Although Canada has a smaller population, we think globally our goal is the world stage. We compete not by scale, but by technology and creativity. I was amazed by his confidence. In America, we often think only about the domestic market, but these people aimed at the global market from the very beginning. Another startup, started with just 2 people, had now grown to 100 employees. The representative said, "We are not afraid of failure. Fail fast, learn fast. That is what is important." Such an attitude seemed to be the secret of Canada's flexibility and rapid adaptability. Although they experienced economic shifts, they always came back stronger. In the evening, returning to the hotel, I opened my laptop to summarize the interview and realized that the direction of the article I had prepared was very different from the reality I faced. I came here to show the economic stagnation in Canada, but what I had seen so far was the exact opposite. I texted Sam. The Canada I see is completely different from what we know. Tomorrow is a meeting at a major automotive tech center. I don't know what other shocking things await me. Sam replied, "Don't get too immersed in the atmosphere there. Our channel is waiting for an objective report." These words made me think. Objective report. Then probably it is best to present the truth as I saw it. I looked at the night landscape of Toronto from the window, planning tomorrow's interviews. Now I was no longer a journalist who wanted to prove Canada's decline, but a journalist seeking the truth. When I arrived at the Mapletech Automotive Research Institute, I was again amazed by its vast territory and modern buildings. American media reported only that Canadian auto manufacturing faces difficulties. Anthony, a high-ranking executive, greeted me warmly. "Welcome, Michael. Today I will personally show you the technological potential of our automotive sector." Entering the research institute, I saw many advanced studies, from automation technologies to artificial intelligence and robotics. In particular, Technologies in the field of clean energy and battery production were at a world-class level. Currently, America may be developing fast in the EV market, but in the field of sustainable energy integration we are leading, Anthony said confidently. Why did you focus on this area? I asked. Future competitiveness lies in sustainability and quality, not just quantity. We strive for Canadian quality recognized all over the world. Listening to his explanations, I compared this with the strategy of American industry. We mainly concentrate on mass production, but Canada opens up much more diverse opportunities. Incredible that Canada is such a technologically advanced country, I muttered. During the lunch break, Anthony took me to the company cafeteria. Surprisingly, I saw many international engineers there. We welcome talents from all over the world. Abilities are more important than citizenship. In America, hiring foreigners can be complex, but Canada is very open to skilled immigration. I realized that diversity leads to innovation. In the afternoon, I was shown the design center. I was impressed by the scene of designers freely exchanging ideas and arguing. There was no rigid hierarchy. Everyone exchanged opinions as equals, which differed from many companies in America. We have a very horizontal culture, explained the head of the design center. Creativity blossoms in a free environment. On the way back, Anthony asked me, Michael, what is your first impression of Canada? I answered honestly, very different from what I thought initially. In America, they think that the Canadian economy has problems. Anthony smiled and said, of course, we also have challenges and problems, but turning a crisis into an opportunity is in the Canadian DNA. On the way back to the hotel, I called Sam. Something amazing happened again today. Canadian companies are preparing for the future with technologies. Michael, it seems this is not the report the channel wants. I fell silent for a moment and then replied, my duty is to report the truth. They say the Canadian economy is stagnating, but what I see now is completely different. In the evening, I visited the CBC and met with the producer of an economic program. He spoke frankly about the reality of the Canadian economy. We also have many problems: housing affordability, cost of living, and aging society. But we do not hide these problems. We bring them up for public discussion. I was impressed by his frankness. In America, we often hide economic cracks rather than admitting them. Transparency is the starting point for solving problems, I said. The producer nodded. Correct. We accept problems and look for solutions together. Returning to the hotel and summarizing today's interview, I thought that if I wanted to convey the truth, I had to reconsider everything I had ever said about Canada. My understanding was changing every day. With the remaining time of the trip, I wanted to understand Canada deeper. I visited the CBC studios again, as planned. I wanted to see with my own eyes how news about Canada, which I saw in America, was created from the inside. In the lobby of the broadcasting center, Maria, a producer, met me. Welcome, Michael. Today we have prepared a tour of the center and an interview for you. I was shown various departments, from the newsroom, studios, to editing rooms. I was especially impressed by the open atmosphere of the newsroom. Journalists argued lively, preparing for news broadcasts. Do you work 24 hours a day here? I asked. Yes, news never sleeps. We try to provide viewers with the most accurate information at any time. We moved to the interview room and sat down to talk with Maria. She was interested in my experience in American media. Michael, in America, from what point of view do they usually make news about Canada? I answered honestly. Mainly they show Canada's economic dependencies or weaker sides in competition with America. When you wrote such news, had you ever been to Canada yourself? Never. Actually, this is my first time. Maria nodded, not showing judgment. Is that so? And does this trip differ from your expectations? I thought deeply and replied, honestly, almost everything is different. Canada is much more developed than I thought. People are very kind and honest. I have one question that worries me. Is there a strong anti-American sentiment in Canada? Maria thought for a moment and replied, that is an image created by media. Canadians are not actually like that. Of course, there are some disagreements over trade and political policies, but ordinary people are not hostile to Americans at all. On the contrary, many Canadians enjoy American culture and have many American friends. Hearing her answer, I began to understand how many prejudices were in American media. We emphasized conflicts and negative sides to attract ratings. Are we reporting the truth? I asked myself. Then Maria organized a conversation for me with international journalists of the channel. They presented balanced views on relations between Canada and America. Sometimes we also make news about America with bias, admitted one journalist. But lately we try to understand each other deeper. I was impressed by their frankness and self-criticism. As an international journalist, I felt that I also needed to reconsider my views. In the evening, Maria invited me to dinner at a restaurant serving traditional Canadian cuisine. I tried many diverse dishes such as poutine, tourtière, and butter tarts. We talked about Canadian cuisine. "How is Canadian food presented in America?" she asked. "It is known only for maple syrup and bacon, but today, having tasted it, I realized that it has a much more diverse and hearty taste. With cuisine, it is the same as with everything else. The image from media and real experience can differ," she smiled. On the way back to the hotel, I thought about the fact that until now I judged Canada based only on superficial information and then broadcast this to viewers. I felt terribly guilty. I texted Sam. "Today visited a Canadian TV channel. They are also self-critical about their work. And us. What do you think?" Sam replied briefly, "When you return, tell me in more detail." I looked at the night sky of Toronto from the hotel window and thought, as a journalist, do I convey the truth or only the stories that others want to hear? These thoughts swirled in my head. As the trip was coming to an end, I felt that I had to bring back something more than just a report. On the last day, I decided to visit the CN Tower, the symbol of Toronto. I wanted to feel Canada as a tourist. I left the hotel early and took a streetcar towards the CN Tower. The driver, seeing I was a visitor, greeted me warmly. "Hello, going to the tower?" "Yes. You guys are really friendly here. We get many American tourists, so we like to be welcoming." On the streetcar, I admired the panorama of Toronto. High-rise buildings and historic heritage sites merged together, creating an impressive picture. It was a modern city that preserved its culture, different from some cities in America. Suddenly, the driver turned around and said, "It's chilly, have this," and handed me a small maple candy. I was surprised by the unexpected kindness and thanked him. It was indeed cold outside. Although it was just a small candy, its warmth touched me. When I got to the CN Tower, I went up to the observation deck on the elevator. A 360-degree panorama of Toronto opened before me. Lake Ontario stretched out endlessly, and big and small buildings looked harmonious, like in a picture. On the observation deck, I met an elderly Canadian couple. They greeted me. "Are you from America? Let us take a picture of you." I thanked them for their kindness and asked to take a photo. After shooting, the husband said, "Last year we were in New York. It is a beautiful city." The wife added, "Americans are very kind and responsive. The trip was very pleasant." From the conversation with them, I felt that between ordinary people of the two countries there are almost no conflicts or hostility, as media portray. On the contrary, there is curiosity and mutual respect. I sat and drank coffee in the cafe on the observation deck, reflecting. Canada is not a country in decline, but a warm country. Impressions of the last days flashed through my head. The server who found the wallet, the taxi driver who returned the camera, the kind people I interviewed, and the driver who gave me candy. I looked at the small wrapper from the candy and realized deeply. The true strength of a country lies not only in the size of the economy or technologies, but also in the soul and culture of its people. Canada is strong economically, that is true, but more important is the honesty, kindness, and resilience of its people, allowing them to overcome crises. Coming down from the CN Tower, I walked around the St. Lawrence Market nearby. The vendors were also very kind, offering me, an American, samples to try. One vendor even gave me a small keychain when I was buying souvenirs. "Come visit Canada again." Leaving the market, I called Sam. "Returning tomorrow. Interviews are finished. In what key should I write the article?" Sam thought for a moment and replied, "Write the truth, Michael. The image of Canada that you saw with your own eyes. It may differ from what the channel wants, but still, one needs to preserve the dignity of a journalist, right? American viewers also have the right to know the truth about Canada." On the last evening, I dined alone in a small diner near the hotel. I was eating poutine, reflecting on the trip. Initially, I came to find the weak points of Canada, but instead got an experience that destroyed my stereotypes. The owner of the diner approached me and asked, Do you like the food? Very tasty. In America, I will miss this flavor. He smiled broadly and handed me a small bottle of maple syrup. Take this as a gift for your family in America. At that moment, I was sure that this warmth, honesty, and openness is the true strength of Canada, capable of overcoming any crisis. Returning to the hotel and packing my suitcase, I thought, how can I now tell this story? When I arrived at the airport in New York, I received a call from the channel immediately. Michael, immediately to the studio. Tonight is a live broadcast. You must participate. Right now, I don't even have a script. It's okay. Just tell about your impressions of Canada. The viewers are waiting. I took a taxi to the channel with a heavy heart. Anxiety about how to present the material grew. If I tell the truth, many will be unhappy. If I stick to the old point of view, my conscience will not allow it. When I arrived, Sam was waiting for me in the lobby. Michael, finally the time has come for the special report on Canada. Everyone is waiting very much. The rating will surely be off the charts. Sam, what will happen if I tell the truth? He fell silent for a moment, and then carefully answered, it's up to you. But viewers want to hear about the weak sides of Canada. I prepared in the dressing room and entered the studio. The red light went on, the live broadcast began. Hello, dear viewers. Today we have a special guest, Michael, our journalist who just returned from a special assignment in Canada. Michael, how are things going in Canada? I took a deep breath and replied, the Canada I saw is completely different from what we know. Silence reigned in the studio. We believe that the Canadian economy is dull or lagging, but the companies I visited possess world-class technologies. Tech giants and automotive innovators are still leading in specific sectors, and there are many startups aimed at the global market. The host looked confused and intervened. But statistical data show that Canada's economic growth has been modest in the last few years compared to ours. Every country faces economic challenges, but Canada's strong side is the flexibility in turning a crisis into an opportunity. They do not hide problems, but bring them up for public discussion to find a solution. The host's face froze because this was not what he expected. And what about anti-American sentiments among Canadians? Did you feel them strongly? To this question, I answered without hesitation. Unlike what we know, most Canadians I met were kind and honest. When I lost my wallet and camera, everything was returned to me intact, and there were many people who showed me small signs of attention. During the whole program, comments poured into social networks. Michael was brainwashed by Canadians. Probably got money from Canada, but I continued to speak. We often look at other countries through the prism of stereotypes imposed by media. I was also like that. But when I experienced everything myself, the truth turned out to be completely different. Canada is our competitor, but at the same time, it is a country from which we can learn a lot. The producer gave a sign. Last sentence. The truth can be known only by seeing everything with your own eyes. Dear viewers, when you hear stories about other countries, please try to consider them from different points of view. The program ended. I walked out of the studio. A furious producer approached me. Michael, what on earth did you do? This is not what we wanted. I calmly replied, I just told the truth, as a journalist, what I saw and experienced. Returning to the office and clearing things from the table, Sam approached me unnoticed. You were magnificent. I would also like to have such courage. I smiled and replied, this is not courage, but responsibility. As journalists, we are obliged to convey the truth. That night, my social networks were full of both critical and encouraging messages. But my soul was calm. For the first time in a long time, I felt that I really fulfilled my duty as a journalist. On the way home, I took out the candy received in Canada and ate it. The sweet taste reminded me of the view of Toronto from the CN Tower. Canada is not a country in decline, but a warm country. After this experience, I decided to become a better journalist, a better person. From now on, whatever country I arrive in, whoever I meet, I will not judge hastily until I see and experience everything myself. After this, I started doing a series of deep reports about different countries and cultures. The first issue about Canada may have caused controversy, but over time many viewers began to accept new points of view. Conveying the truth and not what others want to hear is the true mission of a journalist. I realized this again after the business trip to Canada. Now, every morning, entering the office, I look at the keychain received in Canada. It is not just an ordinary souvenir, but a treasure that always reminds me of the necessity to speak the truth.